Annam was a French protectorate encompassing the central region of Vietnam. Vietnamese were subsequently referred to as Annamites. Nationalist writers adopted the word Vietnam in the late 1920s. The general public embraced the word Vietnam during the Revolution of August 1945. Since that time, the word Annam has been regarded as demeaning. The region was seized by the French by 1884 and became part of French Indochina in 1887. Two other Vietnamese regions, Cochinchina in the south and Tonkin in the north, were also units of French Indochina. The region had a dual system of French and Vietnamese administration. The Nguyen dynasty still nominally ruled Annam, with the puppet emperor residing in Hue. In 1949, the protectorate was merged in the newly established state of Vietnam. The region was divided between Communist North Vietnam and anti-Communist South Vietnam under the terms of the Geneva Accord of 1954. Etymology and pre-colonial usage. Annam means pacified south in Sino-Vietnamese, the toponym being derived from the Chinese Annam. In the history of Vietnam, the designation is one of several given by the Chinese to the Tonkin, the core territory of modern-day Vietnam surrounding the city of Hanoi, which included land from the Gulf of Tonkin to the mountains which surround the plains of the Red River. The name has also been applied to the Annamite Range, a 1,100 km mountain range with a height ranging up to 2,958 meters that divides Vietnam in Laos. Annam is usually considered offensively demeaning to Vietnamese people, and mostly used in sarcastic manners. Trunk Kentucky is instead used in formal contexts. History. In 1428, a Vietnamese general named La Lai founded an independent dynasty in Vietnam which lasted till the end of the 18th century. For most of this period the titular sovereigns were puppets, real power being in the hands of the Trinh family in Tonkin and that of Nguyen in the southern part of the country, which in 1568 became a separate principality under the name of Cochinchina. Towards the end of the 18th century a rebellion overthrew the Nguyen, but one of its members, Emperor Gia Long, by the aid of a French force, in 1801 acquired sway over the whole of present-day Vietnam. This force was procured for him by Pino de Bethlen, titular Bishop of Adran, who saw in the political condition of Annam a means of establishing French influence in Indochina and counterbalancing the English power in India. Before this, in 1787, Gia Long had concluded a treaty with Louis XVI, whereby in return for a promise of aid he ceded Touraine and Pulo Condor to the French. The treaty marks the beginning of French influence in Indochina. Geography. Annam comprised a sinuous strip of territory measuring between 750 and 800 miles in length, with an approximate area of 52,000 square miles. It had a rich, well-watered soil which yields tropical crops, and was rich in naturally occurring minerals. The country consisted chiefly of a range of plateaus and wooded mountains, running north and south and declining on the coast to a narrow band of plains varying between 12 and 50 miles in breadth. The mountains are cut transversely by short narrow valleys, through which run rivers, most of which are dry in summer and torrential in winter. The Song Ma and the Song California in the north, and the Song Ba, Don Nai and Shea Bang Khan in the south, are the only rivers of any size in the region. The chief harbor is that afforded by the Bay of Touraine at the center of the coastline. South of this point, the coast curves outwards and is broken by peninsulas and indentations. To the north it is concave and bordered in many places by dunes and lagoons. climate. In Annam, the rainy season begins during September and lasts for 3 or 4 months, corresponding with the northeastern monsoon and also with a period of typhoons. During the rains, the temperature varies from 59 degrees Fahrenheit to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. June, July and August are the hottest months, the thermometer often reaching 85 degrees Fahrenheit to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, though the heat of the day is to some extent compensated by the freshness of the nights. The southwest monsoon, which brings rain in Cochin, coincides with the dry season in Annam, the reason probably being that the mountains and lofty plateaus separating the two countries retain the precipitation. Economy. During the French period there was little industry. The economy was an agricultural one based on the cultivation of rice, which grows mainly in the small deltas along the coast and in some districts gives 2 crops a year. Fishing, fish salting and the preparation of nuuk mam, silk spinning and weaving were carried on in what the 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica called antiquated lines. Silkworms reared in a desultory fashion. Other crops were tea, tobacco, cotton, cinnamon, precious woods and rubber. Coffee, pepper, sugarcane and jute were also cultivated to a minor extent. The exports comprised tea, raw silk and small quantities of cotton, rice and sugarcane. The imports included rice, iron goods, flour, wine, opium and cotton goods. There were coal mines at Nong Son, near Da Nang, and as well as mining of gold, silver, lead, iron and other metals which occur in the mountains. Human trafficking in Annamite women and children to China occurred from the 1870s to the 1940s. Trade, which was controlled by the Chinese, was mostly carried out on the sea, with the chief ports being Da Nang and Qianhon, open to European commerce. Administration. Annam was ruled in theory by its emperor, assisted by the Khamat, or Secret Council, composed of the heads of the 6 ministerial departments of the Interior, Finance, War, Ritual, Justice and Public Works, who were nominated by the emperor. The resident superior, stationed at Hue, was the representative of France and the virtual ruler of the country. He presided over a council composed of the chiefs of the French services in Annam, together with 2 members of the Khamat. This body deliberated on questions of taxation affecting the budget of Annam and on local public works. A native governor, assisted by a native staff, administered each of the provinces into which the country was divided, and native officials of lower rank governed the areas into which these provinces were subdivided. The governors took their orders from the imperial government, but they were under the eye of French residents. Native officials were appointed by the court, but the resident superior had power to annul an appointment. The mandarinate, or official class, was recruited from all ranks of the people by competitive examination. In the province of Touraine, a French tribunal alone exercised jurisdiction, but it administered native law where natives were concerned. Outside this territory, the native tribunals survived.